So today, as we continue in this Family Matters little mini-series, every day you and I are faced with a choice. We are faced with choices every day, aren't we? What do we eat? What do we wear? What do we drive? So I thought it would be a little bit fun here today, being that our Family Matters series, we've been having all kinds of wonderful things happening in the service. I thought we'd start out with a fun little game today, okay? We're going to do a little PowerPoint game on the side screens, and we're going to call it Make That Choice, okay? So here's the rules that we're going to have. You need to be vocal, okay? You need to have fun, and you need to make a choice. You can't say, well, I would do either, or I'm not sure. You have to make a choice. These are going to get a little bit harder as we go along, so we're going to start off easy and a lot of fun, but then they're going to get a little more focused as we go along, okay? So here we go. Here's the first one. Make a choice, Pirates or the Brewers, all right? They played today. You're getting vocal with me, okay? Here, we can't say both. Make a choice. Here we go. Here's the next one. Steelers or Ravens? All right, black and gold, I love it, okay? Here's the next one. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know how that got in there. Let's moving right along. Would you rather vacation on a beach or going skiing? Okay, all right. How about this one? An e-book or a paper book? A Kindle or an iPad? Okay, all right, good. You're with me. Are you a night person or a morning person? Okay, all right. Remember, you got to make a choice with me, folks. Get vocal. Here we go. Going to get a little harder now. So here we go. Some things about your spiritual life. You're going to go to the gym early in the morning, or you're going to have your quiet time with God. Okay? Think about it. Hold on. All right. So something has come up at work. Are you going to stay late at the office, or are you going to go home for family dinner? Make that choice. Okay? All right, make that choice. It's getting a little quiet in here, isn't it? All right. How about this one? Same night, are you going to go to a small group Bible study, or are you going to go to the movies with your friends? Okay. All right. How about this? Imagine at the same time, they happen at the same time, you have to go to church or the Steelers game. Oh, it's getting hard. I know it's getting hard, okay? How about this one? You have a career opportunity which is going to take you away from your family. It's going to make you travel more, stay more at the office, or you turn down the promotion so that you can spend more time with your family. Make that choice. A little quieter, I'm not sure what. Being that we're in this Family Matters series, okay? Now, parents, you have to make the choice for your son or daughter on these ones. Remember, you have to make a choice, okay? So here we go. Church activities or like tons of sports and, dancing and recitals and all kinds of practices. Which one do you choose for your kid? Oh, man, it's hard if they're at the same time, okay? How about this one, all right? Will you want your kids to go to the student ministries at Northway? Or will you let them sit at home and figure out the internet and tweet and Facebook? Okay, getting a little harder, parents, I know. So this is the last one for you, parents. When it comes to the decision of your kids being involved in the church, is it the parents' choice or the kids' choice? All right, little Pittsburgh dad in there. Thank you, production team, for putting that little game together. See, each of us is faced with choices every day. Sometimes they're easy, and sometimes they're hard. And today we're going to talk about how each and every one of us has to make a hard choice. Even if you're here today and you're going to say, hey, I see this big old Family Matters graphic and I don't have a family of my own. Is this message going to apply to me today? I promise you it will. Because it's not all going to be about parenting. It's not going to be all about family. It's going to be about a choice that each and every one of us has to make. It's a choice and a decision that will affect the trajectory of your life. It is a choice that Joshua in the Old Testament, he throws down for the people of Israel, and he says to them, you have to make a choice. You can't be wishy-washy on this one. You can't straddle the fence on this one. You can't play the game on this one. You have to make a choice. So who's Joshua? Let me remind us who Joshua is, okay? Joshua was one of the spies. As he went into the promised land, he was one of the two that came back and he said, you guys, even though the enemy is huge, we can still do this. With God on our side, we can conquer them and enter the promised land. But they ignored him. And you remember the people of Israel, they wandered in the desert for 40 years, and Moses was their leader. And at that time, for 40 years, Joshua was his assistant leader. And when Moses died, you remember that Joshua was the one who became the leader and led the people into the promised land. He was the one who made them march around Jericho, and the walls came tumbling down. You remember that? Okay? He's that one. I would encourage you to read the book of Joshua so that you can see what God did in Joshua and through Joshua. Some amazing things that happened there. So listen, in this book of Joshua, we're going to find ourselves for our study today at the very end of the book of Joshua. Now we find him that he is this grandfather figure of a leader. In fact, the scriptures say, listen, he's 110 years old and he's about to die. And he gathers all of the people of Israel. Can you imagine this moment? You imagine he's about to pass away. He knows that this is his last speech that he's going to give to the people of Israel. He gathers everybody around him. And he knows that he's going to have the most well thought through, most well prepared, his last words that he wants to share with his people before he dies. And what does he do? He leads them to a choice. And it's a spiritual choice. It's a choice that demands that each person takes a deep look inside. It's a choice where each person must weigh his or her upbringing about what it is that they learned about God, what they were taught as kids, when they had seen and heard their parents and their grandparents possibly doing different things, what they had seen modeled. And as Joshua reflects on the history of Israel, he realizes that there's been some really good times, but there's also been some really bad times. There have been some times where he recognizes that God has always been so faithful to the people of Israel, but he remembers and he confesses that the people of Israel have not always been faithful to God and his ways. There have been times where they have flat out rejected God's ways. And he recollects all these things. And in fact, along the way, he confesses before all these people that along the way, that in their family history, they have served all kinds of other gods in the process. They have fashioned man-made idols. They have bent their knee to the little gods, the little g gods of the age, bowing down to them. And he says basically that they've allowed themselves to do this. And their forefathers have modeled this for them, leaving them floating in this religious tradition and this godless confusion that they have. And watch what he does. He stands before all the people of Israel. You have the picture, right? In your mind. And he stands before all the people of Israel to make his final speech. And as he makes it, he leads them to a choice. And in Joshua 24:15, he says this, choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve. Choose for yourselves this day. And then he goes on and he lists all kinds of options. He says, you know, this clan over here, you have the little god that your forefathers worshiped. And over here, we have the little god that we're on the land of this little god now. Do you remember that golden calf incident? I guess you could do that again if you want. And he lists out all the different options before the people. Go ahead, consider them all. And he says to them basically, what will bring you the greatest advantage? What will bring you the greatest inner satisfaction and peace? What will bring you and exercise the best influence on your character and your family's character? But for God's sake and for your sake, make a decision. So what will it be, he asks them. Don't straddle the fence on this one. And he asks, whom shall you serve? Make a choice. And so let me bring this to us today. How does this interact with our lives and our families today? Because I'm going to guess that most of us, we don't have a little golden calf in our pocket that we bring out at lunchtime and we pray to it and we worship. At least we shouldn't, right? All right? So what does this have to do with us today? Many of us, we have these little g gods that we worship and that we serve. But you know what? They're actually kind of hidden. Because this is the way that our culture tells us that we have to live today. And so these are the things that we have, our lives demand our attention. They compete for our affection and our adoration. They compete for our time. These are the things that we spend our energy on, our money on, our time on. These are the things that, they can even be really good things. But the point is that sometimes we end up serving them rather than them serving us. In fact, some of us are slaves to our little g gods. So let me list a few for us. How about technology? Think about this. Some of us are slaves to our smartphones. We cannot put it down. For some of us, our God is social media. We can't stop tweeting and Facebooking long enough to even remember to eat sometimes. For some of us, our God is our work. We spend so much time at our workplace than any other place. Our work is what controls our entire schedule, and everything revolves around it. For some of us, our God is our spouse, or the person that we're in relationship with, or the fact that we're not in a relationship. Sometimes that can be a God because we look at it so much and we think about it so much. For some of us, our God is our sports team. Even if you're not on the team and you're just cheering for them. But if you play and you have so many practices that's where your schedule revolves around your team's calendar. You're practicing nonstop in these kind of ways. Think about it. For some of us, our God is our house. Constantly keeping up with the Joneses, never having been satisfied with the number of rooms or the size of our home. For some of us, our God is the amount of money that we earn. The tough thing about serving this God is that you never have enough, right? For some of us, our God is our image. And we will do whatever it takes to have everybody love us. We want to look a certain way. And so we'll do anything to accomplish that certain look, even if it means that we hurt our body. So the list could go on and on for all of us in this room. But let me focus our time for what we're talking about today. Family matters. For some of us in this room, our God is our kids. It's our family. See, we put our kids' activities above anything and everything, and our calendar revolves absolutely around them. Sometimes running 5, 6, 7 days a week to get them to the practice or the recital or the competition or to the game. See, sometimes, I'd heard this probably about a year ago, sometimes holding back our kids in elementary school so that they will have an upper hand in high school athletics. Really? Really? See, sometimes for some of us, our God is our kids. See, and I get it. I understand this. I completely do. Remember, I'm the dad of the Pink Life. I have 3 daughters. Here's a picture of us at the beach a couple weeks ago. Erica and I, we're still trying to figure out what it means to be parents of these 3 beautiful girls because we love them so much. We absolutely do. These girls are so precious to us because, see, I want to give them everything. I want to give them every opportunity. I want to make sure that they succeed in life. But friends, listen, Erica and I and parents, we have a choice to make. Will we put the Pink Life first? Will we put our kids first? Or will we put God first? Will we, be mastered by all that the Pink Life is involved in? Or will we be mastered by what God wants us and our family to be involved in? Have you ever stopped to ask those questions? See, I realize it's a hard choice as a parent. This is what we have to compete against our culture today. We're not short of, opportunities for our kids in today's world. But this is not actually all that different than what Joshua is bringing to the people of Israel in this time. And he says to them, choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve. It's a choice that every person has to make. And watch what Joshua does in front of all the people of Israel. Verse 15 continues, and he says, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Do you see that? As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Joshua proclaims that not only for himself, but also for his family, that they will serve the Lord. He chooses to follow God. He chooses to follow Yahweh, the God of the Bible, the one that brought them out of Egypt, the one that took them across the sea, the one who took them into the promised land. He said, I'm going to serve that God because he keeps his covenant promises in relationship. And so, friends, listen, you and I have to make the same decision. You are faced with the same decision. Will you serve the God of the Bible? Will you follow Jesus or not? Parents, families, we have to make a decision for our families. Will we serve Jesus? Will we follow him or not? Every one of us is faced with this choice. Will we serve God? It's our choice. It's my choice. Nobody can make it for me. Nobody can make it for you. And we cannot be lukewarm on this one. The scripture says God does not want us to be lukewarm on this decision. So Northway, what's it going to be? Are you going to serve God? Or are you going to serve yourself and your kids and your work? Now listen, I want to introduce you to Tracy Lyon. Her and David had this very same decision that they were faced with, that all of us are faced with. And she's going to tell you now what they decided for their family. So let's look here.
I'm Tracy Lyon, and my husband is David. We have a daughter, Emily, who is a senior at North Allegheny High School, and my son, John, is an 8th grader. We've been at Northway since the late 90s, and it's been our home. This fall, when I was thinking about Emily and how she got to this point and all she's involved in here, and it's exciting, and I've seen great fruit from her and her activities here. And I started to wonder, how did she get here? And I look back on the decision we made as parents when she was in 5th and 6th grade to just have her attend cross-training. She wasn't too interested in that. She danced 12, 14, 15, 16 hours a week every Saturday. We were running a lot of weekends to dance competitions, just keeping up with her studies and her friends from school. And she was a great kid, making some great choices and just busy. But Dave and I really felt that it was important for her to get plugged in the fall in cross-training. And the fruits of that have been absolutely amazing in her life. To commit to attending the same service every weekend, we needed to rearrange priorities and schedules, and it was a sacrifice. My husband sat in service alone a lot while I served, and Emily participated. But we made the choice because it was important, and looking back, it wasn't just important, it was a pivotal, life-changing choice. We make so many important choices for our kids, and we get so hung up on the right neighborhood or the right school district or the right play group, or even, for goodness sakes, the right toys. What will develop my child the most? And I look back on that time, and it was busy, and we had to make a choice, and we had to squeeze it in until us as a family, it became an important part of our life. I would sit down with with coffee across the table from every single parent that needed it. And I would say, please, it is so important. Get your child to cross training. Have them come. Even if they don't like it, as a parent, you need to do that for your child. As a parent, I did need to take the initiative, the commitment, and make that choice for her. Your decision to have your child active here is too important for them, for you to miss it.
And friends, quite frankly, it's too important for any of us to miss it. You have a choice to make of what will be the priority of your life, what will be central to your life and your family's life. So David and Tracy, they made a choice that each of us has to make. They said that we will serve the Lord and our family will be, that God will be the priority of our family. But here's the thing that you need to know about Emily. She was a good girl. It's not like she was out doing all kinds of crazy stuff. That wasn't the point. But here's the thing. The stuff that she was involved in was competing for her attention and for her affection. It was getting in the way of her being able to really latch on to God. And so her parents, they saw where it was going. And they said, we want the absolute best for our daughter. And so they chose the best. They chose to get her involved with God. They chose to get her involved in the life of the church as a priority, not to any longer fit it in where they could. See, they made a choice and they made it a priority that God would be the priority, and then everything else came after, not the other way around. And so, friends, if you have made a decision to follow Jesus and He is a priority, He is the leader of your life, if you're here today and you would say, well, I'm exploring this whole God thing, this whole Jesus and Christianity, not sure about this. First of all, I want to say to you, welcome. You are always welcome here. We're so glad you're here. But then I also want you to know, every one of us, that that's why this church exists, to come alongside of you, to free you to follow Jesus, because you've made Him a priority in your life, and so we want to support you in that way, not just for our Family Matters ministry, but for our whole church. And so I want you to know that we're here for you. We're here to support you. And so there's going to be a couple very practical things now that I want to just show you so that you can be aware of how you can grow spiritually in the family of God. So the first thing I would say to you is this: make a very consistent commitment to being here every weekend for a worship service. It's so important to your spiritual health. But here's a staggering statistic, that a third of our church is always missing on the weekend. That's right. 33% of our church makes the choice to not be here on a given weekend because other things compete. And I get that, I understand it. But listen, if you want to grow spiritually, then this is the first step. Make a commitment to be consistent in your attendance in a worship service. It's so important. Now, after that, listen, I want you to know that as you make Jesus a priority in your life, we're here to support you and care for you in this way. So we are kicking off here real soon the ministries of the fall, and we are so excited. We have so many ministries that you can get connected to and grow. Listen to these. If you are in need of care and support, did you know that we have Monday night care nights that are constantly going on? They don't really going to have a kickoff, but they just constantly go on Monday nights at the Wexford campus. Things like this. If you are, addiction recovery groups, purity groups, infant loss support groups, marriage matters, prayer ministry that's constantly available to you. We always have our professional counseling center right on this property. Did you know that? That's a part of our church, all right? If you want to dig deeper into God's Word and you want to study God's Word, great news. We have some great study groups that are kicking off here real soon in September. Things like this. You discover. If you're brand new to the faith, Maybe you aren't even a follower of Jesus yet. This would be a place where you can discover what it would be like to follow Jesus. Discovering a life with Jesus. It's going to be kicking off real soon. The women, you are going to be studying. We've got a plethora of options for you. We've got MOPS, we've got Mosaic, we've got Kay Arthur studies, we've got Beth Moore studies that you can get involved in. So many different options for the women. Iron Men, all right? We're going to be kicking off real soon with the men of this church studying a discipleship journey and challenging the men of our church to disciple 2 other men. I would love for you to get on that train, okay? Listen, I promise you that you're going to have a great time, men, if you get involved in that. Dr. Jim Platt is going to be teaching a class on creation and science starting Tuesday nights, okay, in September. You might want to get in on that. We have neighborhood small groups where you can continue to build community all together. And here's the thing, listen to this. On September 8th and 9th, we are having what's called the Small Group Connect. This is the place where you can get connected to all of those different ministries that I just mentioned to you. If you're brand new with us, that's the place to get connected. Do not miss the Small Group Connect, okay? Now, you can see we have so much available to all of our church, but now I want to focus on families. That's why we're in this series. We want to show you that family matters here at Northway, so I want to display for you what the vision of Family Matters Ministry is all about here at Northway, okay? This is the vision for our kids from the cradle all the way up to college, okay? As they enter into college. There's 3 parts on your outline that are in your notes there that you're going to take fill in the blank notes on this, okay? This is what's coming. So the first part of this vision, the Family Matters vision, is that you matter. This is what I really just talked about here. The idea is this, that you cannot give what you do not already have. You cannot lead your family somewhere where you have not already been. And so if you want your family to follow Jesus, then you need to follow Jesus. That you matter in this vision. And you can't be lukewarm on this one. The spiritual growth of your family is so essential to your growth as a follower of Jesus. You know, I used to think in my list of priorities, when I used to say, I used to list them out. And I would always say, you know, my wife is my number 1 priority. And then my kids. And then the fact that I'm a pastor. And somebody, a mentor of mine, challenged me one day and he says, well, where are you in your list of priorities? I began to realize that I was all the way at the bottom. And my relationship with Jesus after all of these things were kind of at the bottom. And he challenged me to think that, wait a second, Kent, your relationship with Jesus needs to be central and first in your list of priorities. So think of it this way, okay? You know when the stewardess comes on to, when you're on a plane, and she comes over loud, in case of severe turbulence, you know, there's going to be an oxygen mask that falls from the, you know, the ceiling there, and make sure that you put yours on first, and then assist your little one who's with you or anybody else. Because why? If you do it the other way around, you might pass out. Think about it. And you won't be good for anybody. So parents, we understand that in this list of priorities, you matter. Take care of your relationship with Jesus. So you can see on your outline there that these are why the you environments exist. You discover your life with Jesus. Take that class. You connect, get into a small group. You belong. This is our membership class here at Northway. Get involved in these study groups, small groups, and care groups. Regular church attendance. Get those disciplines going for yourself. And membership is so important, okay? So you matter in this vision. The second part of this vision is church matters. This is where we focus on relationships, okay? Think of it this way. The church is the people, not the steeple, all right? The point of church is not programs. The point of programs is for relationships and friendships. And so we want your son or daughter to be known and to know other godly friends and other godly leaders in their lives. For you also to be a part of serving in the family ministry. Parents who drop your kids off at the kids' church in the back. Can I just say something here? All right, I want you to pull out this little thing that's inside your notes here. See that it says Family Matters in there? I want you to take a look at this. And parents, I want to say something. As a parent, every other organization that your kid is involved in will require you to volunteer. We don't do that here. But here's the thing. When you drop your kid off in the back, it looks like everything is covered. And I promise you, it always is. But here's the thing. It's usually the same person week after week and service after service in such a way that they don't ever get to participate in the sanctuary. So I just want to encourage you with that to say, parents, we need your help back there. We are constantly looking for godly people to influence our kids in that way. Get your kids consistently involved in the same service. This is the best way for your kid to grow. Keep them in kids' church. Now, let me talk to you about these different. You heard Tracy talk about cross-training. What is that all about? This is our middle school discipleship program at 11 a.m. on Sundays. It happens in the student lounge. This is where your middle school student can be discipled. And then Extreme is our middle school outreach that happens on Sunday night. Get them involved in bringing their friends, being able to practice that idea of evangelism and bringing their friends to a great environment. And then we have the same thing for Blitz, which is our high school outreach on Sunday nights. This is the place where you can encourage your high school student to come and bring their friends to. And then we also have a discipleship environment for our high school in small groups that are going to be meeting. And so parents, get your kids to be involved in these things so that they can have consistent contact with godly leaders in their lives, godly friends who are encouraging them up, okay? See, it's so important. We've got service projects available for your students, for your kids. Shared experiences. In fact, parents, FM Live is coming up next weekend. Saturday night, it's going to be happening September 1st. Things like the daddy-daughter dance will be happening throughout the year. Mommy-son things are going to be happening. These shared experiences that you can get involved in. Church matters for your son or daughter's spiritual growth. And so get them involved. We know how important it is. The third part of the Family Matters vision is that home matters. Home matters. We understand at Northway that the home is the most important place, and it should be the safest place for a kid to grow. They should see what is modeled here in this room, exactly what is modeled at home in their living room. We understand that that's important. And at Northway, we believe that the parent is always going to be the number one voice in their kid's life. It's not going to be teachers. It's not going to be friends. It's not going to be the media. Parents, you have an influence in your home into your kid's life. So we know that what happens at home is so important. And so we as a church want to provide you with spiritual resources so that you can have conversations with your kids. We see here that you have take-home tools that you can participate in conversations, maybe at bedtime with your little ones. We have student materials, reference materials, so parents, you can see what's going on at the middle school and high school level so that you can talk with them about what they're learning at Extreme and Blitz and in their discipleship programs. We have a blog that's constantly updated with all these different ideas that are coming up. And so not only are the student ministries, Blitz and Extreme, kicking off on September 9th with the rest of the church as we kick off on that huge party, but listen, on that blog, we already know that we're headed to this retreat called Laurelville. So if you have a middle school student, you need to write down this date that November 9th and 11th, 9th through 11th, middle schoolers are going to go on this retreat. And I tell you, as they celebrate their 50th year this year doing this, I tell you what, it's a great retreat. Having been a youth pastor for 10 years, I know how good this retreat is for your son or daughter in middle school. So November 9th and 11th. And then high school, you're going the following weekend, November 16th through 18th. This is the type of thing that we keep updated on the blog. And so we understand that home matters. So there it is, parents. There it is, Northway. You know exactly what we are about when it pertains to family matters at Northway. And I want to say this. We are here to partner with you, but we cannot make the choice for you or your son or your daughter. You have to make the choice. And so let me close our time with saying this today for all of us in the room, whether you are a grandparent, whether you are a parent, whether you are a kid, whether you're a teenager, whether you're single, whether you are a young adult, whatever age range in this room today, listen to me. Every one of us has a choice to make. And the scriptures say, choose for yourself this day whom you will serve. And you may think right now, well, Kent, listen, I'm here, man. I'm in the service, right? I've made my choice. Isn't that enough? Well, I think it's a little bit deeper of a question than that, than just church attendance. And here's why. When Joshua made that decision, when he proclaimed before the people of Israel that he was going to follow God with his whole life and that his family was going to do the same, he was actually reflecting back over his life with a decision that he had already made. And everybody knew it. Everybody knew by the way that he lived his life and by the way that he led his family that this statement was true. And so I want to ask all of us today, would your friends, would your family know your decision to that question by the way that you live? Outside of this room. See, he proved it with his life. He proved that God was a priority with his life. And I wonder if you and I can say the same thing. That as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Would you stand up with me to pray?